Welcome back to Cautionary Tales, the podcast that usually answers the often asked questions, so you want to be in a band, do you? And why do you want to be in a band? This week, I strayed from those mission statements when I sat down with Buddy Nielsen, the ongoing fulcrum and long-running post-hardcore outfit Senses Fail. Nielsen has played a significant part in this scene when it comes to creating stirring soundtracks, from 2004's Let It Enfold You to this year's well-rounded and very on point If There Is Light, It Will Find You. Nielsen's also been very transparent and outspoken about his personal life, as well as what he feels are injustices facing his corner of this music community. For this 80-minute plus episode, expect some cringeworthy history, managers, lawyers, and label people, oh my, unvarnished real talk, fans and detractors of Attila, take note, and a moment of personal resignation that got emotional. Straight up, if Buddy Nielsen made records that sounded like Nickelback, we'd still love him. Because he's fearless. And regardless of whatever music you listen to, we need that more than anything else right now.
You're the only constant of Senses Fail since, 16 years, right?
Yeah.
It's been 16 years of Senses Fail.
16 years.
Given all the hell you've experienced, what would Buddy 2018 tell his 18-year-old self? Would you say, stop, go get a degree in finance or
No way.
IT or what?
No way. Stick it out. I'm definitely in the best place I've ever been. Musically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, band-wise. Like, I mean, I couldn't... maybe something wild could have happened in there, you know, like had we made a right instead of a left, but I don't think I haven't really been in this position that's this good ever, I would say, for the band, or me personally too.
And it's only taken you 16 years to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but I think most people are generally pretty lost and miserable, I'd say. So to be here at 34, yeah, I was really bummed out last night. I watched this thing. Pauly Shore did a Joe Rogan podcast, and he seemed so bummed and so bitter about the way his career went and what happened to him. And I just felt so sad for him, and so thankful and lucky that that's not what happened to me. You know, like, I'm not sitting here pining for 2006, wishing that like whatever that was would happen again. You know, I kind of was like, no, I'm gonna create my own thing. And I think that was a big difference between like how you end up at 50, like Pauly Shore, or how you end up like me at 34. Because everyone's gonna have to figure something out, I think, at some point.
True.
You're gonna have to figure something out. You guys know that, like, more so than anyone else. Like,
yes.
You gotta be on your toes, and you gotta figure something out, and you gotta have like persevere, or no one's gonna hold your hand through it. So you can either jump off the ship, or you can like figure out a way to make it float, you know, and then eventually, hopefully, a bigger ship comes along and picks you up, and then you're stoked, you know, or you go down with the ship. That's kind of cool too.
Well, I don't know. Were there points in Senses Fail's career that you felt like you were rearranging the deck chairs in the Titanic?
All the time.
Just like, why the hell am I doing this?
Every time I go out on tour, I think it's going to be the last tour.
Why?
Because I up until recently, I just haven't trusted that, like, it was just going to work out, you know? I don't know. Maybe I just didn't have faith in myself. Maybe I didn't have, like, faith in whatever. I mean, now I'm having the opposite problem where I'm like freaking out because things are going too well.
Oh, it's just like, what's waiting around the corner?
Oh yeah, a little bit of that. But I know I'm very well like aware of that like mental struggle that happens in my head with, you know, becoming more connected to things and having success. I'm sort of used to things just being generally awful.
Okay.
So when things go well, I get a little scared. But yeah, I've also always wanted to look at this as like a privilege and like a But everybody tells you from the beginning, you better plan something else, better do something else, no one tells you, you know what, just stick with it.
That's true.
Work
Everybody says
work your ass off, stick with it, put in the time. Not every tour, not every record is going to be the biggest thing in the world, but that doesn't mean that you can't keep doing it. No one ever gives anybody the advice like, just stick with it. Like what if Senses Fail just broke up? We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having success on a new record. They wouldn't be selling out a ton of shows. Like Circa Survive. Like the longer I do this, the more I realize that perseverance and like stubbornness of just like dedication not only transcends down to your fan base, but like it just makes you who you are. Like people respect that over a period of time. Neil Young said something like, this is where I got it from, because Neil Young was, he's like, sometimes you play clubs, sometimes you play bars, sometimes you play arenas, sometimes, he's like, you go like this. And like, that's the life of a musician. And like, you gotta like, just breathe sometimes and be okay with like, what's going on. Or you're gonna panic and you're gonna get too high, you're gonna get too low, and you're gonna quit. And like, that's what happens to most musicians, is they have either too much success and they freak out and they think it's going to be like this forever. And then the moment something else happens, they're just, this is it. I got to go. Because the advice everyone gives them is it's safer to go work for FedEx because it's more job security. But I've learned that's not more job security than this.
No.
People will come see me play or talk or do something for the rest of my life now. I've like stepped over into that, where I actually have something to offer people more than just like music, but also like in a way, like I like walk through the fire and I'm out on the other side and I can tell people how to do it.
Sure.
And I don't mean in like a,
which is why you're here.
Yeah.
Because this is the whole thing Cautionary Tales is about, navigating the business and like, don't let this happen to you folks and stuff like that. So, and that's interesting because you say like, nobody says stick with it because everybody's the concept of, well, plan B.
Yep.
And most of the musicians that I've been talking to who are very comfortable where they are, where they've said, I didn't have a plan B.
No, I don't.
No, I don't have a plan B because plan B means I'm going to fall back on something.
Yeah.
And I worked 3 times as hard to get where I'm doing now.
You can't make meaningful music that people love with this being planned, with this not being plan A. Like, you just can't do it. I mean, look at all the bands. Look at all the bands from even our era that put out records that just don't connect because it's all planned. This isn't plan A for them anymore. This is not they're not their passion. They don't like the genre. They don't like touring. They don't like for whatever. They're looking for a plan B but can't find it. Yeah. And this is the default, and it's just like.
And plan A, you're phoning in.
And plan
because
A, you're
not because your heart's not in it.
Yeah, and like you can't. That doesn't work in music. It doesn't work in art. It doesn't work in movies. It doesn't work in music. It doesn't work in those mediums. You can show up to FedEx and not care, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't do that. You can't do that. You know what I mean?
True. Well, okay. When you started, first record, From the Depths of Dreams, right?
Yeah.
That was through something called ECA.
Yeah.
Which was that kind of like a manager's producer's label or something like that?
It was just this guy, Dave Conway. You might know him. He works for a working group. He managed a bunch of bands. It was his like first little thing. He just had a small little like, hey, let me put out your record. Okay, cool.
And he's got the rights to that record forever?
No, it's Universal. Well, Drive-Thru signed it. Drive-Thru had a deal with MCA. MCA got bought by Universal. So
MCA,
by default,
Music Cemetery of America.
Yeah. By default, it is now part of Universal Music Group.
Gotcha. Okay. And then obviously you got hooked in with Drive-Thru. Now there's Drive-Thru and Vagrant logos on the cover of Let It Enfold You, and
Correct.
Also Still Searching.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Because to me, it's I wasn't familiar with that. Doing research for this, I saw that, and then I went, wow, what were the connections, or how did that come about? Why one or not the other?
So, I mean, it's a really long story, but we signed a Drive-Thru. We sold 100,000 records of our EP. So MCA was bought by Geffen. MCA turned into Geffen. Geffen was like, we want the band. They're on fire. We want to bring them up. One of the funny problems was there was I don't know if it was on purpose or not on purpose, but in the drive-through web store, they were counting sales as double or triple. So we actually didn't sell 100,000 records. We actually sold somewhere closer to like, I don't know, 30, 40. Still respectable, still good for a first record. But right. Sales were being counted as double or triple or something, and it ended up bouncing up to 100,000. I don't know if that was on purpose or not on purpose.
To this day, you don't know if it's a glitch or if it was somebody twisting their villain's mustache.
Yeah, it didn't really matter because it didn't ever really matter either way what happened to that. But we got...
Is that short speak for somebody got paid but not you?
I don't know. Probably.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, probably. So we got brought up to Geffen, and drive-through we started making Let It Unfold You under drive-through. We recorded a lot of it. We recorded what we wanted to of the record, and then we got brought up to Geffen. And once we brought up to Geffen, we got big-time management. We got this guy named Bino.
Velvet Hammer.
Yeah.
The guy who invented the concept of the street team.
I guess I'll tell you that. So Bino, we were like, we need a big time manager. We're on a big label. Jordan Schur was the president of Geffen at the time.
Geffen, Flip Records. Close personal friend of Fred Durst.
Yeah. And they were like, we want more singles. And we're like, we're good. And they're like, no, we want you to write some more. So we're like, all right, okay, fine. We went in, we wrote Buried Alive and Rum Is For Drinking, 2 of our biggest songs ever. So it worked out. We bring it back to them, we recorded it, finished the record, and they're like, yeah, we still need some more. We're like, no. This is like the best we can do, unless you want to wait like 2-3 years. Like that we don't we're 20 years. This is good. These are the
This
hits.
is the band right now.
This is the band right now.
This is the band because this is growing up in public, both aesthetically, creatively, and personally.
I mean, we felt we played the game a little. We felt we did it. We also felt we needed to strike while the iron's hot. Like, we didn't want to sit on the record any longer than we had to because it had already been 6-7 months since it had been done. And we're like, what are we doing? Spinning our wheels here. And then, so at some point, I was just like, we're just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be on Geffen. Like, this doesn't seem like a good place. They haven't had much success with the bands around them. Like, if it had been DreamWorks, I would have been like, we're in. Like, let's do it. Like, they're killing it. They're,
they were,
They had AFI. They had, they were, or Island. We probably would have even been like, all right. But like Geffen, we're like, I don't know about this guy, Limp Bizkit, Puddle of Mud guy. Like, I don't. This Ashley Simpson guy. Like, what's going on with Starting Line? What's going on with the drive-through bands that came here, and where are they now? Not in good spots. So we were like, Midtown, Newfound was fine, but even then, like, I mean, if in the grand scheme of things, like, they had Newfound, and they couldn't make Newfound Fall Out Boy or Blink. So it was like, we just kind of saw the writing on the walls, and we were like, what do we do? Do we like stay here and take a shot, or do we try to get out of here? So our booking agent, like, close relationship with the owner of Vagrant. Vagrant's also part of the whole umbrella of Geffen, Interscope, Jimmy Iovine. Interscope owned Vagrant. Interscope owned Geffen. So we kind of devised this little bit of a plan to sort of get Vagrant to see if they could bring us over to Vagrant and away from Jordan Schur and Geffen. So we flew out, me and one of our bass players. I just love this story. I love telling it. And we're going to fire Bino.
Okay.
So we go to Bino's, and we're just like, we're done with you. Like, we don't want you, like, because he went in and we're like, dude, go in, tell him no, have our back. Like, you're a big guy, throw your weight around. You manage System of a Down, you manage Deftones. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Represent us. Like, you're Bino. This is why we hired you, to go tell the head of major labels, yo, I got this. Like, I'm the manager. These are the hits. Here we go. Comes back, goes, yeah, I think we should write more songs. We're like, you're out. Like, you clearly don't get it. Like, we have a very specific thing we're trying to do here, and we feel like we accomplished everything we can. We can't keep writing songs. Like, we're going to get lost in this 2004, 2005 shuffle of, if we don't have a record out, we're going to get buried beneath Hawthorne Heights and and all these guys, you know? And so...
What was his response?
Well, I mean, he made me come to his house and, like, showed me all his house and showed me all the millions of dollars he has, and his car says Beano on the back, and, you know, shows me his Zen garden, walking around his house, telling me how it can all be mine, and all this stuff, and just trying to blow smoke up my ass and just show me how successful he is.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm just like, dude, I'm not fucking buying any of this. You know, like, just standing in his house being like, you know, it's like, comes walking down the stairs. He's like, I slept with, you know, the hottest girls last night. He's like, you know, if you stay with me, this could be you. And I'm like, yeah, no, like, that's like not what you're fired. We're firing you. We've already told you we're firing you. You're done tomorrow. Because the whole point was I was going to go out there with them, go into Geffen, and all sit down and be like, dude, let's have a whole thing. Like, what do we need to figure out here? So we fired Bino. We went to meet with Jordan Schur by ourselves. Brings us into, you know, we go over to Geffen in Santa Monica. And basically it was sort of Jordan Schur trying to talk us into just sort of like sticking around and like wanting to play the game. And, you know, he's in there, he's pointing at pictures of Puddle of Mud and Limp Bizkit and all this stuff. And I said to him, I was like, what you represent is what I hate. I was like, this sucks. I was like, you pointing at Puddle of Mud and saying this could be you, to me is like proof that I shouldn't be here. He didn't know my name. He called me Bubby.
Bubby.
The entire time I was with him, about 3-4 hours. But hey man, yo, Bubby, man, what's up, Bubby? How you doing, Bubby? Yo, Bubby, look at Puddle of Mud, man. When I first got Puddle of Mud, I mean, they were nothing. Now look at them now. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Puddle of Mud. And then, like, I remember at one point we're sitting in his office and he's got the TV on. I don't know if he was managing him. He was directly involved with Ashley Simpson. He just stops because he's on an episode of Ashley Simpson, and he stops and the television is on. He goes, here I come. This is, yo, just one sec. It's going to be me. And he's just like watching himself on TV. And I'm just like, how did I get here? And like, it was just sort of like proof that like, maybe it's the wrong decision maybe it's the wrong decision to be the biggest band in the world if I want to be the biggest band in the world. But my goal was to always be No Effects, Bad Religion. I want to be 30 years deep, killing it. You know, that was always my goal and what we talked about. So it was like, okay, stick to the plan or chase the thing and potentially pay the price. And I just didn't feel like they had the people over at Geffen, and I didn't think Jordan Schur had any idea about anything. And it took a long time. It took 6 to 7 months for Jimmy Iovine to pull the strings to get the band over to Vagrant. But basically, the contract this is the long of it. The contract that we first signed was transferred from Drive-Thru to MCA to Geffen to Vagrant. And Drive-Thru was like, it was just contractually that they had to put the Drive-Thru logo on it. But
it's a chess game, man.
Oh yeah, I mean,
just
like,
look at that, like, separated from here, putting it there.
You know, I firmly believe we could have been. This is no knock on Fall Out Boy, but we could have been Fall Out Boy. I mean, we could have very easily had Buried Alive come out on a big radio push from Geffen, and that song could have been, and you know, like, we all were writing similar songs and we were all doing similar things, and we were all successful, and we were all at that point where it was just waiting to happen. I mean, we could have stuck around and we could have had that happen, or we could have had what happened to Finch and Starting Line happen. We just got buried and beat down and shelved and just done, and that could have happened too.
Yeah.
So we made a decision to go for the long game, and I think we made the right decision, but there's always that
I think
what if.
so. I mean, it's the question I often ask bands: do you want hits or do you want a career? And that's a big difference.
Well, you want both.
Yeah, maybe you do, but ultimately, there's only one guy I know. I interviewed. Here's that name I got to pick up after I dropped it. Rob Zombie is okay. Every time he walks onto a stage, he knows he's going to have to play more human than human.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care
Yeah.
because he understands that he has genuine appreciation for the fact that he was able to create something that's stuck in the minds of millions of listeners.
Yeah.
And, it's just like he likened, because we had the conversation, because I said that to him. We were talking about Ozzy. This was like over a decade ago. We're talking about Ozzy. And Ozzy just doing what Ozzy does all the time, and it's not different. He says that's okay because maybe his fans don't want anything different. They don't want him to be clever. They don't want him to do that stuff.
I mean, that's what I realized too, and that's a realization that I came to. That's, I think, a very smart realization. It's like
you are part of a cultural.
Just do you?
Yes,
Yeah.
do you? But you're part of a cultural fabric. That why do you want to? It's like Adam West saying, "I'm not Batman. Shut up," or Shatner. He was using these examples of William Shatner saying, "I'm not Captain Kirk.
But
grow up, you people."
Yeah.
But you are exactly. And
Yeah. I mean, that's the conundrum that I don't know. It's always funny to think, and I think other ex-members of the band might sit there and go, we should have just stayed. We should have just tried it. Like, but they're also not in the band anymore. So you know what I mean? So it's like,
exactly.
So I think part of like maybe what made them want to leave was that Plan B became Plan A. I mean, that's
Exactly. It would probably be more interesting. It was more solid for them to try to go be the paint chemist at a Home Depot than to be playing.
That's fine. I mean, like, I understand. I mean, touring's hard and being away from your family's hard, but it's like it's a balance. It's everything's a balance. Like, for me, everything's a balance, and I feel like you can do all of it. I feel like people have this perception that you can't do everything. You have to like pick one thing, and you have to like that you couldn't possibly live like a fully immersed, creative, like mobile life. Like life has to fit in a box, and I think for a lot of people, life fitting in a box is safe, but then eventually, like, it's not safe. So,
Well, yeah, okay. I mean, we'll be talking about that in a couple minutes too, I'm sure. You've had people coming in and out of the band. You might as well have a revolving door in your practice space. You've had people like Heath Saraceno and Jason Black, and these are like solid dudes who took up the roles when other people were just not having it. Why is it seemingly that you've churned a lot of members? I mean, are you a perfectionist and a pain in the ass, or is it a certain way? Is it Buddy's way or the highway, or is it? Do you know what I mean? Or is it just that who you thought was a really good match socially, because nobody wants to be in a band with people they hate, unless you're in the Ramones? What is that? What is that then? Why do you is it just that, I mean, are you difficult? Do you see a vision that you thought that, oh, you share the vision? Oh, hey, I've been on tour with you 6 weeks. No, you don't see the vision. Yeah, okay. Come clean on it.
only one person's ever been kicked out. Every other person has sort of
Faded out.
left.
Okay.
I'd say fade is a good.
Fade.
Fade is sort of the right word. I mean, to be honest, Census Fail was a sinking ship for the last 10 years.
Well, I mean, sinking ship in that
Like,
it never.
yeah, I mean, okay, so, 2006, 2007, I mean, the band was huge. We're on the cover of, why haven't you put Census Fail on the cover of ALTPRESS again?
Because people care about that.
What?
Because people would care. I mean, But back then we put them there because specifically there was this new band that was making people's heads swivel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why have you put us on since? Because it's whose heads are we making swivel?
Exactly.
So
exactly. If I can be so bold, a lot of people don't, or a lot of people do maintain that type of profile, but for some reason or another, there's either the new hotness or we're responding to something else.
Yeah.
Because I know at Alternative Press we're very attuned to what fans like and what's happening.
And then up until this record, where I would say you could potentially think about putting us on the cover and it would make sense. I wouldn't say that about the last 13 years. You know what I mean? So if you put those things in perspective, if you were in a band that was making, and you were personally making upwards of $100,000 a year, and then out of nowhere, you just started making 20 or 10.
At that point in time, I'd probably think I could be the paint chemist at Home Depot.
Money. I mean, I really don't have any other than Dan, the drummer, who, stuck with me for like a good number of years after that, and just I think got burned out. I mean, he started the band when he was 15. Like, he needed to do something else with his life. It had been his whole childhood, his whole early adulthood. He just was done. He played on the new record, so he's still involved. But the other guys, I mean, like Heath, he wanted to start a family. He's got 2 kids.
Sure.
He'd already seen He'd already done that. He'd already done the
with Midtown. Yeah.
He'd already done the Midtown's going to be Midtown could have been Fall Out Boy. I mean,
it could have. Yeah, very well.
Midtown could have been Fall Out Boy, and we'd be sitting here talking about Midtown. And you know what I mean? It's like,
sure,
Midtown didn't have that happen, and he kind of saw what was happening to Census Fail after we put the record out after Still Searching, and was like, I don't want to go through this long, slow decay or whatever is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I've already done this. I've already done it. And he didn't love touring, So he was like, I'm out. And, same thing with, I think,
and
some
became an electrician.
Yeah.
Master electrician.
Same thing with other, members just were like, dude, like, I can't, like, where's this going to go? And, like, what is it going to be? And, like, and I would say that's why. I mean, to be honest, and then we had hired musicians for a while. And, when you're touring a lot and your pay is not going up and, the band is what the band is, and you start to have a family and you go like, you know what I mean? It's not your band.
No, it's not your band. But I mean, ultimately, Census Veil has always been your creative vision. I mean, does anybody really have like, okay, am I going to be a vested member of Buddy's vision? I guess that's, which means that some years you're making $100,000 a year, and some days you're making 17 or 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
Because of the nature, like we said earlier.
Well, not now. I mean, now everybody gets paid. Everyone who's in the band gets paid a salary regardless of what success or non-success of the band. They don't have to partake in the success or
they get
loss.
a salary, but ultimately you're the one who takes the brunt of whether something's happened. So, you are the CEO of Census Fail.
So, I I would say it's really just nobody wants to stop playing music, but it's like, if you need to like provide, people get itchy around 30. I did. I was like, what the hell am I going to do? 2 years ago, I was like, 2 dudes quit the band and they'd been in the band for a while. Matt Smith and this guy, Zach Roach. Matt Smith would Strike Anywhere. He'd been in the band since 2010. He was in the band for 6 years, 2 records with him. Integral part of the band, was like the band leader, like the guy, like my right-hand man, other than Zach, both of them, I would consider them like integral parts of like the middle of Census Fail, like when we went heavy and changed our sound, like, they had kids and they're just like, quit. They had to. I mean, what else? I'm not paying. I can't pay them enough money to like make it worth their while to leave their children.
Sure.
Like, what amount of money even? What is the amount of money that makes? If it's not your, like, Census Fail is my baby in a way. You know what I mean? So it's like, if it's not yours, it's a lot easier to just walk away from.
Oh, absolutely, sure.
So,
like I said, they're not vested in the vision.
Yeah,
because of that.
But they were in a way. I mean, they were in a way, and no one ever said, "Hey, man, can I be more involved?" So it's like, people have to make hard decisions, when they have families and decide to decide are they going to age out of being in a band. And I don't think I will. I hit that point because I was very concerned about it. I'm very what am I going to do with my life? I went and worked at Vagrant. I managed bands. I managed some really successful bands, some really cool bands. It's just, and I came back. I took another risk and quit that and was like, I'm just going to do this and go and make it plan A again, And, yeah, I don't know. I don't want there to be so many people in and out of the band, but I mean, it's I don't know what band that's been around 16, 20 years even has that. Very few.
Yeah. Very few.
And they have to make so much money that everybody is like, oh, I'm just sticking around for the money,
Yeah, sure, exactly. But it's interesting now that there's a whole generation of bands that now this is coming to, and these guys who are in their mid-30s. I'm like, mid-30s? I was still acting like a maniac in my mid-30s.
Yeah.
But now it seems like everybody's kind of, with the acceleration of life via immediate gratification, via digital realms, that kind of seeps into I think so, yeah. I think everybody's just
scared?
Kind of I think everybody's scared, sure.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, I got a little scared, but then I'm like, you know what? What else? What do you want to? Why would you want to do anything else? What else you?
There's no plan B.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do? I mean, you managed bands.
Yeah.
What was your biggest success?
I was managing Story So Far for a little bit.
Okay.
Right at the beginning, I had a sorority noise, Somos. I was starting to just really get going as far as kind of developing what kind of stuff I wanted to work with and where I was working.
Segues into something you probably want to talk about, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. You were sued by Dave Miller, 2005.
Correct.
Okay. And then he commented, we did a story on his food truck many years ago, and then his comment was that he won in court, but he didn't feel like he won anything. I don't know what that means.
I mean, we fucked up.
I mean,
we got really bad advice.
Who's we?
The band.
Okay, you got really bad advice from your
I'm
attorneys?
friends with Dave now. I talked to him.
Okay.
He had every right to sue us. We did something really stupid. We're advised by a really stupid lawyer, which we've had many stupid lawyers, and by a really stupid business manager who I found out was stealing money. It's we've had it. Literally every business cliche
happen to you.
Happen. That's the other reason. We also want to talk why did Census fail? Why was Census fail a sinking ship for so long? There's another reason. We had bad managers. We had bad people involved. We had total mismanagement. When the band was at its height, we were broke. Touring in a van. We were broke.
There's a lot of that.
Yes.
There is a lot of a lot of people listening probably wouldn't, I remember that was just kind of like that. I mean, in the early days of Nirvana.
Yeah.
They couldn't keep that record in print. They couldn't keep, for a while, they couldn't keep Nevermind in print because they just thought, oh, it's just going to be some college rock thing. That's it. It's going to 15,000 maybe. Haha, that's it. The thing took off, and they really could not make enough copies of the thing, to actually deal with it at first. And then when it was happening, and they were still doing these tours and all that, I mean, they were still, I think one of the guys was still couch surfing, I think.
Broke. Yeah. Touring in a van. There's a lot of reasons why people left. I mean, I'm not saying it was all because people wanted money. It's also because it's dude, what are you doing? We're selling out 2,000 cap venues and we're touring in a van and we're broke. What are we doing? Who's in charge? We don't know. Exactly. Now I have a real understanding of what happened. It was mismanagement, bad lawyer, bad business manager.
Because they figured that because you weren't...
No, because everyone in the music industry is pretty much an idiot. I'm not, and give or take, everybody's pretty much an idiot.
Okay.
Because they're involved in something that doesn't require any checks and balances. Like,
yeah, they're supposed to be the gatekeepers, and they're supposed to be your advisors.
there's no rules.
All that stuff.
There's no FEC. There's no test you have to pass. There's no
Wild, Wild
regulations.
West.
There's nothing to filter anyone out. Generally, most people in the music industry are opportunists, and they're not that smart. The people that survive are smart. The people that survive for whatever and adapt are smart. There's many opportunities that come and go. They come and they go, you know. And we had a bunch of opportunists around. I mean, our lawyer advised us to do something incredibly stupid when we wanted to let Dave out of the band. You know, Dave had some issues that he needed to deal with, and it just wasn't working anymore. And we let him go. And when you have a company, someone has shares in the company. He has to sign over his shares in order to be officially out of the company. He didn't want to sign the band exit agreement that we had prepared for him. So our lawyer was like, well, don't pay him his mechanical royalties until he signs it. That's illegal. It's a highly illegal, non-effective way to deal with something. That's illegal. You can't do that. You can't withhold someone's legally owed royalties in order to leverage them to sell their shares of the company. That's illegal. That's a technically corporate law illegal. You can't do that. And that's what we did.
Okay.
And we did that for years. And we just didn't pay him because we're like, you're not signed out of the company. You need to sign out of the company. You're not part of the band. You need to get out of the company, which is the true thing. We wanted him out of the company, and everyone should be out of the company because your share in Census Fail is what? Like, if Census Fail doesn't tour, doesn't work, how are you entitled to it? It's the conversation that people are probably having about Blink. Like, Tom probably retains his share and is making money because it's worth it to them to pay Tom whatever to sit at home while they tour.
Sure.
For us, it wasn't gonna work like that. We're not paying some guy we want out of the band, blah, blah, blah. So we were advised by our lawyer to do that. Our business manager did that. Management, I don't know where the hell they were. You know, I don't know what to do. I've got my own drug problems and depression and anxiety. Like, I don't know what's right, what's wrong. And then, you know, he turned around and started suing us and won because the judge was like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. So we paid him, and you know, that was it. You know, so it was like, and a lot of people, you know, I think some people in the band are, you know, very mad about that, but it's like we owed him the money. I don't really know. We didn't really end up paying him any more than he didn't really make anything because his all that money went to his lawyers.
At the end of it, yeah.
So at the end of the day, I mean, it just sucked for everyone. That's what I think he meant. It's like he didn't really gain anything, and like it just sucked. It just sucked overall. That was a real dark time. That was about 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. That was a real dark time in the band. That was like 2010, real dark time. That's right. You know, we put out a record I don't think people really liked. I don't think it was really that great. Now everybody likes it, of course.
You'll have that. You always have that.
But yeah,
figure one, jawbreaker, dear you.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, that's all resolved, and like I still talk to him and like send him his royalties now because I'm the business manager. So
you're in charge of everything.
I am in charge of literally all money.
Good. Well, good. Exactly.
I'm in charge of. We have a manager who's very good. He doesn't do anything with the money. He's creative side, logistics side, but I deal with paying everyone and taxes. I do everything. I'm the business manager. I've been burned too many times to not be watching my finances closely.
When you made the transition to Vagrant Pure Noise, were you dropped, or did you opt to not re-sign your contract, or how was that?
Well, Vagrant dissolved into, now it's not even a label, really. Vagrant dissolved into BMG. So I was working at Vagrant.
Oh, okay, that's right.
I was working at
Vagrant.
Vagrant.
Was like Vagrant, then like what was the label under that? Staple?
Yeah, and that was really
like a
that's
like
what
a
I was
legacy
working.
type label.
They were going. I mean, Vagrant was going away from what Census Fail was for years. and they're trying to build, they had 1975 and they had Edward Sharpe and they were going that way. And so they created this other label. We put one record out on it. It was sort of, there's no one at the label was really, it was pretty much me and one other guy promoting the record. It's like,
Okay.
I was pretty much like working my own record.
Okay, gotcha.
And I don't know.
Is there anything else you could possibly do? You know what I mean? If you're already worried about all this other stuff.
Yeah, no. I've done literally everything for the band. At some point or another. Literally, I was running all the advertising, Facebook advertising and everything, and, contacting directors to do the video. Literally doing the label side of stuff for the band while also tour managing the band and doing the business management and everything. So it's like,
And that has to, obviously, when you're taking care of all of this administrative stuff, it's going to affect an aesthetic end of it.
yeah, to an extent. I don't think those records are bad. They're just different. They're just Census Fail is a hardcore band. Really.
Sure.
But I also was like, you know what? I don't care if it's successful because I have this other career. And there was a little bit of that too. I was like plan Bing it because it's like I got my plan A now and the music's almost just like a hobby, like a thing. I can just sort of like do what I want, not worry about it. And like if it's successful, whatever, people like it, whatever. I'm working in the music industry. I'm working at Vagrant. I have a job. This is what I'm going to do with my life now. I'm going to do this and tour every now and then, put out records every now and then. So I shifted to that. But then I was like, nah, I'm going to go back,
That's good.
Yeah.
So then you aligned with Pure Noise.
Yeah.
And Jake Brown's a swell dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it seems like he's very supportive of what Census Fail does. And it seems like it's really going really well right now with the new record, If There's Light.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of wondering, when you started making your histories on substance abuse and sexuality, did that have an effect on getting things done with Census Fail? Is it kind of like, oh, geez, this guy's got more baggage than the damn airport carousel. We're not touching this. Was there anything like that, or was it just really kind of business as usual, or was there ever a situation for whatever type of thing that anybody would say, yeah, let me get back to you, and then it was crickets or something? Did you feel it when you made all these personal declarations about your personal life? Were there people just kind of like, let's look at this band?
I don't know. I definitely feel like no one had my back, to be honest, other than maybe Jake and my wife. Like, I don't feel like the music scene really came out and like supported me, to be honest. Like, it's a lot of what happened with the last record. I was really upset at like the community and the music scene and the world. And to be honest, I was kind of out here screaming about a lot of this stuff before it happened. And people were like, go back inside, shut up, like whatever, we're good. We live in a post-racial society and look where we are now. And I'm not bitter about it because it needed to happen in that way for me. But I definitely was not happy to be a part of whatever the fuck this is. Whatever this is, this music scene, these bands, my quote-unquote friends, my community of people doesn't exist for queer people at all. There's none of that. I don't think there's any of that here.
You mentioned that in your last Alternative Press feature.
Yeah.
That you kind of like, there was really not that moment where we all link hands and say kumbaya and jump off the same cliff.
No, there's a lot of like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, play your songs, and just be thankful that you're here. You got everything you wanted. What's the matter? And that's why I've been somewhat silent on like, not silent, but Trump. Like, I kind of like was talking about a lot of the issues in the music scene 3 years ago, and people were almost kind of like, way to go, social justice warrior. And it's like, all right. But I'm not trying to say like I should get a fucking medal for it. I'm just trying to say I just wish I wasn't like maybe felt like there's a lot of bands that are afraid to do the right thing because they're afraid it's going to affect their career. I'm not one of them. I'm willing to pay whatever price to do the right thing. And I've proven that you can do both. That you can do the right thing and you can still be super successful at it, you know, while taking a risk to not say the most popular thing, whatever that is, you know.
What was the biggest risk that you took? I mean, looking back on it, what was the thing that you were most outspoken about that just kind of like maybe came back to bite you in the ass?
Just sort of saying like that it's just, I'm just being open about my sexuality. I mean, nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. People don't want to hear that. There are people that do, obviously, but they're not the ones yelling, "Yes, more, here, give us more." You know, they're the ones quietly going, you know, "Thank you so much. This is really meaningful."
Because they might be having their they might have somebody in their life.
I mean, there are
who's facing
plenty
that
of
sort of
people
thing.
within the music industry that call me up and talk to me about their stuff, that are don't talk about their stuff because they're still afraid it's going to affect their bottom line, their career, you know? So it's like, clearly we don't live in a world in a music scene where that's like, you know, it's still not something that people are like willing to like stamp, I am this person. And even the ones that like, I still don't feel like I could like go out and like, I don't feel like I can get up on stage and talk about it every day, like at length. People are going to fucking boo. People are going to scream. People are going to call me a faggot. And like, that's what I dealt with on the last record. And like, I just don't want to deal with it, you know? And like, there, to some extent, my success off the backs of people that maybe don't support my beliefs is actually how I'm going to win. There's people like, someone was saying at the Philly show, they're like, yeah, there's like Trump supporter and this guy wearing an all rifles shirt. Like, do you know where you are? Do you know who you're supporting? No, they don't. They have no idea.
Yeah.
Just like when I tweet about like brand new, people are like, fuck you. Who the fuck do you think you are? Like, you're a piece of shit. And I'm like, well, dude, what are we talking about? How am I a piece of shit? Like, what exactly did I do, you know, to like warrant this kind of response?
It's a complex thing.
It's very complex.
It's a very complex thing because, I don't know, I think in a lot of aspects, first of this whole type of contemporary punk scene that we've been involved in.
I wouldn't even call it punk. I don't even want to like grace it with.
Well, I'm using the word contemporary. Okay. If we want to, let's say, music played on guitars very quickly and loudly, and that kind of is a post-hardcore screamo, death metal, you know, whatever. Let's just say that, but that's a bit long. So we just, because like every media organization, we use shorthand, and that's punk, and you know, whatever. But I think there is a problem with, I guess, young people who this is obviously by virtue of how old they are. This is their entry into something that is considered counterculture or underground, and they feel that there is some sort of community, some sort of punk rock utopia, if you will, where everybody's very supportive and this type of thing. And ultimately, we're obviously seeing that that's not really the case, because you're hearing about women and young girls being attacked by, being preyed upon by dudes in audiences at various gigs. And or for that matter, like, oh, dude, yeah, I'm here hanging out with my buddy in major label band X, and we're having a blast, and we used to play VFW halls and stuff like that. And then they get on the bus, and then like, Jesus, how the hell did he get the cover of Alternative Press? How the hell did that happen? We did this. Why do those pricks get it? And everybody kind of, it's not that Clubhouse. And I think you articulated that in your last AP story. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, and they're just kind of like, well, buddy, fuck you. This is my vision of what this should be. In this current climate of that demands transparency, I can't understand why you would still get the shut the fuck up thing. Dudes in Anti-Flag are great players. They write great songs, and they make a lot of political statements. Yeah. And a lot of people still say, shut the fuck up and play your songs.
Yeah, no, I
and it's kind of, I don't understand where that comes from, because they're not getting that information anywhere else.
It's the privilege of people who don't have to suffer in the ways other people do, who are able to say that. Shut the fuck up, like, That's what it is. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to not want to listen to someone else's story of suffering.
But it almost seems that a lot of this stuff, because everybody craves transparency and authenticity, you know, I mean,
but that's also why Census Fail is so successful now, I would say.
Because you've been through a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm transparent about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
are there? I mean, you're transparent about it, but I mean, also, I can't help but think that there's also a form of personal release and catharsis and therapy for you, saying like, I've done this, I've done these things.
Definitely.
I'm not proud of them. They happen. They're part of what we do. They influence, in aspect, they do influence my art.
Yeah.
And then there's like, and see, I would think there would be a larger bunch of people like, holy shit, Buddy did what? And they would just kind of like, wow, that took some fucking balls. But you're telling me that like not so much. It's kind of like, Buddy, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I'm just as, I guess I'm being the grampire that I am. I'm still kind of exasperatingly naive in something like that.
Well, I think what happened is you have a lot of like, I look at it as you have this phase of like the Obama years where everyone thought America was something that America isn't. And the music reflected that by being kind of like hollow in all genres. Like what was big? Management, party music, cocaine music. It's like a disco, like disco music. And then in our genre, we had a lot of like, you know, stuff that wasn't exactly like, I don't want to say authentic, but it really wasn't like cutting down to like the meat of like what it means to be alive. You know, it was like very more like scratching the surface. And I think I kind of came along when I did a lot of this at the very end of that, pre-Trump. I think if I did it now, people would be celebrating it in a different way because you need that now. You want that now. You're sort of like people need people to look up to in this era right now where we're at.
So, sure.
When Obama's president, everything's good. What are you talking about? People had a very I know what was going to happen. I travel all the time. I know what America is. I'm very well aware of what America is and what America isn't. That's why I was really perplexed when I was sort of like talking about all this. People were like, what are you talking about? Like, you got everything you wanted. What are you upset about? Like, where's all this injustice? Why are you creating this injustice out of nothing? And I'm like, because I very clearly saw what America is and where America was going. You know, I don't know. I don't want to say I wasn't surprised by any of this. And I just have a different view of America, more of an understanding. And like, I think now, if I had done that now, it would be a different tune. I think you'd have people, you know, maybe supporting me more openly. You know, like no one had my back with it. Attila, dude. That dude's a punk. Like that dude's a problem. That dude's a bully. That dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that dude's one of those dudes that needs to get punched in the face. Like, and I'm not a violent person, but if you are a person who is queer and you get called a faggot, you have every fucking right to knock that person in the face. I don't like non-violent, like passive queer movement. I'm for...
You're the anti-Gandhi, as
I am for standing in your fucking space and taking it. And like, I tried to fight that dude because he deserves to get his fucking ass kicked.
Tell me about the legendary summit meeting between you, him, and Kevin Lyman's bus on Warped Tour. Because that was apparently...
I mean, everyone should know this story because it's like, I tried to fight this dude.
Yeah, it was supposed to be
He wouldn't come
all
off his
ironed out.
bus.
Oh, really?
He won't come off his bus. He wouldn't fight me.
Interesting.
Doesn't
But
want to fight
wasn't
me.
there a thing where you were on...
We had a
both
meeting.
of you were on...
We had a meeting where he...
Daytona
we had a
on
meeting,
Kevin's bus.
We had a meeting where I said straight to him, you can't use that word because you don't identify as it. He said, it's just a word, man. I was like, so by your definition, you can use the N-word. He goes, yeah.
So it's just vernacular.
Yeah, and I'm just like, to me, like, I feel bad for him because I know that he bullies, and he does this because he's been bullied and he is hurt and he is in pain. But that doesn't excuse the behavior. It doesn't excuse the fact that, like, we don't live in the America that is that can turn back to something like that. People thought we did. A couple years ago, people thought we did because, you know, we're in a post-racial society. You know, gay marriage is legalized. Everything's good. But now I think you're seeing the, like, oh yeah, that's actually, like, not only not okay, but, like, not productive and, like, you know, not cool. You know, and, like, I feel bad for the guy, but he still needs to get punched in the face.
He has often said that he's playing a character.
Yeah, that's fine. But, like,
I mean, because, like, what is he? Is he just basically like the modern Don Rickles?
I don't know about that.
If you listen to old Don Rickles comedy records, he talks about the coloreds.
Yeah.
No, sir. Sorry,
Yeah.
pardon me. You know what I mean. I made air quotes when I said that, folks. So you know. Please send your mail someplace else. But you know what I mean. It's like he's playing a character. That is, from what I understand, Chris Franziak is playing a character of all of that stuff, which is kind of it's ramped up. It's 12 on the 10 scale. It's all ramped up. It's 500,000 screaming watts of this character. And the problem is that
but he's not. No, he's not. Because when I have a conversation with him, he is who he is. You know?
Okay.
He wasn't apologetic at all.
It was a smokescreen then.
I don't think it's a smokescreen. I just don't think he's very smart.
Okay.
Like, I don't think he has the mental capacity to, like, understand what he's doing from an objective perspective. And I think he's just so into his thing because it helps him. It's like a supervillain. You know what I mean? Like I'm the bad villain. I want to kill Spider-Man. You know, it's like I'm the supervillain, and it's like it's pretty cheesy. And I thought when I talked to him, because I talked to him multiple times on Warped, I talked to him once. I just approached him. It's just not the kind of person that you ever feel like, you know what, man? Like, you're right. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you know, I don't think that he knows what he's doing. I also know that, like, when he put that song out a couple weeks ago, he started freaking out because people were really bummed at him. I think he's very insecure, and that's evidenced by his behavior. You know, it's like, dude, you're talking about something that happened 3 years ago. Like, come on, we're moved on, you know? Sure. Like, I feel, you know, it's like, I don't say anything, you know, on the internet. I'd rather talk about it in a setting where I can explain what happened, stuff like that.
Sure, exactly.
But, like, dude still needs to get punched in the face.
Okay.
That's, you know, and I just, maybe I'm old school. Like, I think that one of the messages for the queer community that's wrong is peace and love. Peace and love doesn't always get you respect and a place to stand at the table. And that's what I've learned from my teachers and my people is, like, there is an amount of, maybe I don't ever punch him in the face. Maybe I never, and I probably never see him again. And I probably, really given the chance, I probably wouldn't, because I have a daughter and I have someone that's gonna go, Dad, why would you do that? And I'd have to explain it to her. And I don't have a great explanation. It's probably not good enough. Not good enough to explain to my daughter to justify doing it. But that doesn't change the fact that, like, I still don't think that, like, I would have to, it would take a lot for me to not do it. And it would be me thinking about being a parent and thinking about him being a parent too. And how, you know, that's the other thing is, how does he explain to his kids the stuff he does? Now that I'm a parent, that weighs heavy on my mind, you know, and I think about, like, dude, that's like a bummer. Like, what a bummer for this dude that, like, his kid's going to turn on his music. And this is what, like, I'm really proud that my daughter what I've left for her to discover is, I think, something she can be totally proud of, you know? And she can look back and go, wow, my dad really did something important, you know? And like, I want everyone to be able to have that as a parent. That's like one of the joys of being a parent, is to feel like you are giving something to your child that's really meaningful, you know? So I don't know. I've kind of thought about that, because people are like, oh, you're going to respond? I'm like, yeah, no, not via the internet, you know? I mean, like maybe in person.
140 characters at a time, really. I mean, there are a lot
maybe
more
in
complex
person,
statements.
You know? I could talk to him in person again, you know? Like, I go talk to him in person and be like, dude, why are you talking shit still? Like, why are you still talking shit, man? Like, 3 years, I don't even think about you.
Branding.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's, you know, I mean, that's how he's positioned himself.
I mean, it's, band got dropped.
Yeah.
Trying to spin it as a pop. It's very Trumpian. We got dropped, but we're in a good spot. We're doing good. There's no chaos. There's no smoke here, guys. This is fine.
Fake news.
There is no smoke behind the curtain, guys. We're good. You know, and like, good luck to them. He's toned it down, so it worked. That's the other thing. Anybody that says what I did didn't work, it's bullshit. Does he say faggot anymore? No. So there is something to be said about really standing your ground and like being a physical presence, not just like, and I feel that I have people on my back, meaning that there are kids that come to our shows. There are trans people. There are people that like I represent. It's not just me. This isn't an ego.
You're representing.
This isn't me being like, I need,
You can't. These are complex situations that parents can't deal with, teachers can't deal with, clergymen, because seek somebody. These pillars of these people who you've always been told you can confide in these people. No. So which is why this culture, this art means so much to so many people, because they're going to believe the lead singer of their favorite band, who is going to have the understandings and really hit that chord with them psychically, or literally, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I mean, and that's the whole thing, and that's why, I mean, you are correct. You are literally being, that spokesperson for that person.
I want these kids to feel okay. Like, I want them to go to shows and feel okay about being gay and queer and trans and whatever the fuck they want to be, non-identifying. And like, I don't want them to hear the singer say faggot and them have to go, oh, well, I guess it's okay because, I mean, he's saying it like this, and like, it's okay because he says he doesn't mean it, and it's like this, and like, he can say faggot. It's like, I don't want them to have that. Like, let's just remove that from the situation. Just don't say faggot. How about that? Like, how about that? It's not, because what I was asking wasn't a difficult ask. Is it really that difficult to ask someone to stop saying faggot? And it was. It really was. To him, he felt like he owned this word faggot.
Well, it's part, like I said, it's part of the shtick, and if that's what he,
I don't know, but it's like, if your shtick is built around a word that causes people to kill themselves.
Yeah,
like,
that is the true. That is very true. And also,
like, you're not a crusader. Like, you're not out here supporting all these people. You're not doing that. You might think you are in your own head, in your own like little super.
But nobody sees that, because nobody understands irony. I'm making air quotes when I say irony.
Yeah. But it's like, we're dealing with 15, 16-year-old kids here. We're not dealing. And exactly. But you're dealing. I mean, I think we're in a different spot now because of what's happened in the country. Had that all happened now, much different. But where we were 3 years ago, just pre that, it was sort of like, dude, what do you like? Come on, man. This is a joke. Like, he's, just let him be. And I still am a little upset about so many bands not having my back in that. No one had my back in that. No one. Nobody. Did. No one. Not one band. No one. And that kind of bummed me out. I mean, I'm Anti-Flag. I mean, of course, those guys, like guys like that. But like, no, people were just like, yeah, like, Crusader, like, calm down. We know you're queer. You just came out. You're all fired up. Like, But I don't know. It meant a lot to me, and it still does. And I'm proud of myself for standing up to him, and I'm proud of myself for taking whatever heat, and I'm proud of myself for standing outside his bus, willing to fucking
throw down,
make him call me a faggot to my face, and see what happens, and pay the price for the word, you know, and let me make you understand what faggot means to me, is really what I wanted to show him. And I don't have to do that anymore because he doesn't say it. And so it's sort of like I learned a lesson there, you know. I really had to use a lot of myself not to like really like just, you know, go after him, because it's just like that really bothers me. Like that really bothers me.
Oh,
not only coming out, when you come out, there are people that are immune to that word, but to me, it's still just like, I don't know. It's just one of those words that like I feel like kept me afraid for a long time. So it's like, I don't know. You know, there's, you know, I think he learned his lesson to some extent.
So let me, with the last question, I was going to say, right now the music business is like this weird brave new world of the music industry. It seems like Spotify is the new utility bill.
Mm-hmm.
And does anybody even buy those 5-inch aluminum discs besides me? I don't know. I'm not sure. What kind of reality checks would you like to impart on to people on both sides of the stage, both musicians coming up and the fans out in front?
I don't know. I mean, I'm stoked, to be honest. I like, you want to talk about another reason why Census Fail was a sinking ship? The economy fell to pieces. The second we put out our record, the record after our biggest record, people literally just stopped buying records, stopped coming to shows for a period of time. Like, I look back on some of those numbers and they're bad. Like, people just didn't have money. People didn't know what to do. People were panicking. People were, you know, I mean, not in a good way. So it's like, to be able to make money off of music, I'm just stoked that we're in a position where it's like, Census Fail's recouped all our records. I mean, we make royalties. We don't make a ton, but we make enough that like, I feel good. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not one of those. Of course, it would be great if, you know, you were compensated more for the thing, but it's like, I kind of like realized that art is never going to be compensated in the way that I look at it. My stepdad's like, you know, whatever business you work in, you get a lot of. You work in money, you make a lot of money. You work in music, you get a lot of music. You work in, you know, real estate, you get a lot of real estate. You know, it's like if you want money, don't do this. You know, it's sort of like you really have to like almost go into this with a Buddhist perspective of like, the meaning has to be your own meaning. And that's sort of life in itself, really. I mean, it's like, if you try to find the meaning of life, you're never really going to really be able to like answer that. And the meaning of life is the living of the life and the relationships you have. And it's like, if you're constantly playing music to like get somewhere or get something or achieve something, whether it's money or fame or this, you're never going to get there, because you're always going to be standing on you're standing on top of what you were really looking for, which was really like an experience of connection and wholeness and like fulfillment. So money to me is like, somebody told me this like, maybe it's just one of those weird like moments in life where you meet someone and they change your life forever and you have no idea who they are. You only know them 5 minutes. This weird Russian barber told me one time, he's like, when you need money, it'll come. And like, when I stopped worrying and just, I had faith in like, I don't know what, I don't really have a specific faith, just more faith in the goodness of life, and knowing that, like, no matter where you're going, you're not going the wrong way. Money will show up, and the goodness that's supposed to be there will start to show up, but you have to be, like, aware and open to it. And I think so many people I see in their life closing doors or not opening doors because of fear, and that inhibits their life and inhibits them and stops them from, and creates all the problems that they wonder why they're having, when all they have to do is really open the door. But that's, like, sometimes the hardest part is to, like, open the door and walk through the door and leave the room that you've been sitting in, even if the room you've been sitting in is filled with fucking snakes and heroin. And you're like, who cares? You know, any room would be better than this fucking room. Like, it's filled with fucking snakes and all you have is heroin. Like,
Snakes and heroin.
What other fucking room could be worse than that? Get out of it. But I constantly see people that are like, what do you, and I think it takes so much courage to live a life that is just open and honest. And, like, life is fucking scary. And wondering if you're going to have enough money is fucking scary. But you know what's even scarier? Living the same day over and over again. Living your life for something that is meaningless. So it's like, the Bane has this one lyric. It's like, anything is better than dying, in a comfortable deathbed. And, like, you know what I mean? It's like, I always lived by that, or I've started to live by that, and less by this, what am I going to do? You know, because it's like, it's really easy. Everybody wants you to live that way. Everyone's telling you to live that way. What are we going to do? It's never going to be okay. And, like, my mantra is, it's going to be okay, because I've been through so much stuff. I've seen so much stuff happen. I've been up, I've been down, I've been around, and it's all going to be okay. I personally truly believe in, like, the goodness of the world and the goodness of people. And, you know, I think like I said, like, even going back to, the dude from Attila, I can look at him and say, like, that dude's hurting just like a lot of us are, and, like, I anything anybody wants to give me for compensation for census fail, I'm fucking stoked on. And I think that people realize that, and I think people see that. I think people see that, and people like Anthony Green. I'm just so stoked for someone like Anthony Green. It's like, for someone to, like, struggle and just, like, to see him be so successful. It's gonna make me cry. To see him so successful, it's just, like, real, like, what is it? Like, I can remember he was, like, fucked up,
Oh yeah,
really fucked up.
Sure.
And you're like, now you look and you're like, dude, look at this band, look how successful he is, like, so fucking good for him. And, like, so it's like, and, I sort of, like, look at him as, like, I don't want to say, like, just as, like, like, it's sort of like, okay, he's okay, I'm gonna be okay. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's like, I think that, and I, like, there are a lot of good, I think the good people will always hopefully make it through okay. And I don't believe anybody's inherently bad. I just think that, like, maybe they're just stuck in a fucking room filled with snakes and heroin and are just too fucking scared to get out.
Yeah, and maybe an Attila CD in the room.
That sounds like a fucking nightmare. Just, that's the only thing playing.
Yeah, exactly. You can't unplug it. The walls. The plug is soldered to the wall.
Yeah, and you can't touch the floor.
Yeah.
You're standing on a desk and you're just like, all I got
14 king cobras looking at you.
all I got is
"Come
heroin.
on."
That sounds like one of the, like, that sounds, maybe I should direct their next video. That's what I got it, guys. Franz, you're in a room on a table. There's heroin everywhere, and the floor is filled with snakes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think Snakes Everywhere would be a great band.